Hello, my name is Óscar Gonçalves, and I'll be your host for the next 10 episodes of the Neuropsychology of Consciousness series. This series that I'm bringing to you today is part of the U3C, University of Coimbra Consciousness Consortium, an open educational and research platform intended to provide support to those of you interested in the sciences of consciousness. The contents and materials featured here were put together by a group of instructors, researchers, and students associated with the Neuropsychology of Consciousness course taught by me here at the University of Coimbra. Over the next 10 episodes, I'll be showing you how scientists and clinicians are finally coming to untangle the neural mechanisms of what has been probably one of the most mysterious philosophical and scientific endeavors. Explain, predict, and control the mechanisms of consciousness, helping in addressing the question we have been asking all along. What is it like for any organism to have a given subjective experience?
Hello, my name is Óscar Gonçalves, and I'm a professor here at the University of Coimbra in Portugal. This is one of the oldest universities in the world, dating back to the late 13th century. Today, you are joining me at the Joanina Library for introducing the science of consciousness on the first episode of the Neuropsychology of Consciousness series. Library is probably the most appropriate place to start talking about consciousness and laying out the path for a science of subjective experience. What is it like for any person, organism, or even any entity to have a given subjective experience? For millennia, libraries like this have been the guardians of human subjective experience, allowing you as a reader to understand how is it like to be me as an author, or the other way around. But this library is not like any other common library. Besides being one of the richest European Baroque libraries, with books and documents dating back to the 15th century, Joanina Library houses another very unique feature. Come with me. Partnering with books as guardians of human consciousness, Joanina Library houses 2 colonies of bats. Housed along with the books in these shelves, hard-working bats go systematically over the most remarkable documents of ancient human knowledge, snapping up them of any potential threatening bugs. This is indeed a most remarkable example of partnership and cooperation in preserving the history of human subjectivity, preserving our collective consciousness. But speaking about that, I need to share with you another curiosity about this enigmatic species and the role played by bats when philosophers and scientists start debating the feasibility of coming up with an objective approach to human subjectivity, a truly science of consciousness. While all these books store extended forms of consciousness, helping us, at least to a certain extent, realizing how is it to be like me, you, and them, we don't know what is it like to be a bat. In 1974, the American philosopher Thomas Nagel published one of the most influencing articles precisely with this title. What is it like to be a bat? Where he asserts that any organism has consciousness if and only if there is something that it is like to be the organism for that organism. What it is like to be a bat for the bat, and not for you as a bat. According to Nagel, this subjective nature of conscious experience eventually creates insurmountable obstacles to a scientific inquiry. No matter how much you try to imagine that you fly around all these shelves, catching bugs from ancient manuscripts, or navigate by emitting high-frequency sounds, having them reflected in our sonar system, or even imagining that you are hanging upside down from this astonishing ceiling. This would be only informative of what it would be like for any of us to behave as a bat, still leaving out what it is like for a bat to be a bat. In trying to address this scientifically, we face what the New York University philosopher David Chalmers immortalized as the hard problem of consciousness. Even after identifying the structural and functional mechanisms of a mental experience, what Chambers mentions as the easy problem, we may still fail to describe how it is to have a given experience from the point of view of the subject. The elucidation of how the nervous system can give rise to diversity of cognitive and behavioral functions is, I would say, relatively easy, and scientists have been successful in addressing these issues. Much more complicated is, however, to address how all these physical phenomena give rise to a mental experience. As for example, experiencing the reddishness of this red carpet. Science can describe objectively the mechanisms handling color vision red, starting from wavelengths and photoreceptors all the way to different layers and regions of the visual cortex. However, this does not explain how is it like for each one of us to have this experience, the reddishness of Joanina's red carpet. In 1986, Frank Jackson from Australia put out this challenging thought experiment that he titled What Mary Didn't Know. Mary is a color scientist that knows all there is to know about the psychological and neural mechanisms responsible for color perception. However, Mary has never seen colors herself. She was raised from birth in a colorless world, just black and white and some few shades of gray. But one morning, Mary is released into our colorful world and witnesses firsthand the phenomena that she has been studying all along. Now the question for all of you, would she be surprised? According to Jackson, she will. because she doesn't know, after all, everything there is to know about color. Until the release moment, she didn't know how was it like to experience the reddishness of the Joaninas red carpet. Curiously, this thought experiment turned out into a truly nature experiment. The neurobiologist Susan Berry from Mount Holyoke College in Massachusetts had been studying perceptual phenomena, such as binocular depth perception. But ironically, a condition she couldn't experience herself due to a specific form of congenital strabismus. In her book, Fixing My Gaze, she reports how having her strabismus fixed opened a whole new world of perceptual experience. In her own words, I could see, not just infer, the volume of space between three limbs. And I loved looking at and even immersing myself in those inviting pockets of space. While science may never solve the hard problem, researchers are already starting to dissolve it. Dissolving the hard problem by breaking into small little pieces and start explaining what is it require for any system to be first conscious at all, that is emerging from the obliviousness of coma or deep sleep or even general anesthesia into a fully alert condition, such as the one you are right now while attending this presentation. In other words, to have what we refer as a global consciousness. But then, we need also to explain how is it to be conscious of something? The red carpet, the library ceilings, or the beds? It is not enough to explain awareness. We need to understand the mechanisms of perceptual consciousness. And finally, we need also to explain, predict, and control the mechanisms that allow an organism to be conscious of itself. Locate the experience inside your body and within your mind, self-conscious. The experience of being yourself, attending this presentation, here and now. Of course, we may have access to human subjectivity by looking at its behavioral correlates, such as translated in conversations, or creative correlates as expressed in these books, paintings, or even the music. But can we come up with an objective science of subjectivity, identifying the neurocorrelates that ultimately would answer the question, what is it like for you to be you, as for the bed to be a bed? Altogether, all these represent what Tam Hunt recently mentioned as the measurable correlates of consciousness. And along these 10 episodes, I'll show you how an interdisciplinary enterprise called by the Nobel laureate Francis Crick over 10 decades ago is paying off, and start uncovering the neural mechanisms that may eventually allow to understand if the Joaninas library bats are not only conscious at all and fully alert during their daily work schedule, but also perceptually conscious of all the bugs inhabiting this books, and simultaneously being conscious of themselves as bats. See you in the next episode, and until then, be conscious.